Testing 1, 2, 3. Cool. You're on. Okay. Trouble. Let me. There we go. Maybe that's better now. Cool. Let's put on some jams. All right. Send out a broadcast. Let's see how it goes. So today, what we're going to be doing here is working on porting some of the fabric design controls over to the Aurora library. So let me switch over to there. We can take a look at these controls. So these are controls. Sort of the Microsoft design team came through and said, hey, we're building these things for Office and other places, and we think that these are good principles to use for design and whatnot. And I think they look pretty nice. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can mimic some of these with the power of SkiaSharp. All right, so if we just take a quick look, we'll see what we got out here. I don't know exactly where we're going to start with today, but probably pick something easy because it's Saturday, and I'd rather just have fun doing this than get too crazy. Let's see here. Let's kind of take a peep. Yep, we're not going to do a navigation bar. That's probably a little too advanced for today. Pop-up menu. So I've been working on something like this a little bit recently. So I might have something like this that will add to the Aurora controls pretty soon. So I've already kind of got to start on something there. It's got to be something fun. On a list cell. There's one that I saw yesterday that I thought would be pretty good. We already got like a lot of these done out here. Snack bar. I got that one going too. I could work on the tooltip. All right, let's take a look at web. Maybe we can move some web ones. There's some pretty good ones in the web here. I think would be good. Pickers. I think this is the one that I saw that I liked. No. Yeah, I kind of like this idea of these choice groups that are big like this. It's kind of like a radio button, but also kind of big. So maybe we'll do something with those. Let's just take a quick look though. Actually, you know what? This is one I've been wanting to do for a while. Let's do this instead. I think this one will be a little more fun. Cool. All right, so we're going to do the rating one here. I'll keep on flipping back and forth here, probably between the browser and my desktop. I've got a good old trusty Visual Studio for Mac here. If anybody needs me to bump up fonts or something like that, if you're watching this, let me know. And I can adjust that, no problem. My OBS is doing something funny, but I don't think you guys see that, so we'll roll with it. Cool. All right, so let's make a new control out here. So this is, for what it's worth, I can kind of show you the app here really quick. So this is our Aurora controls that I'm really adding this stuff to. It's sort of like a control library that we've been working on for a while here to help you make your Xamarin apps look pretty awesome with like just a little bit of work, you know. So it's kind of all the stuff that when you're working with a designer or you're working with people or you're building your app and you're like, I saw this in this one app and it looked cool. I really wish I could add that to my app. Just a bunch of controls to allow you to just drop this stuff sort of in your app and kind of get running with it. We've got a free version that just kind of has a sample of some controls out there, and then we've got a paid version that I think's fairly affordable that you can get access to as well and be able to do whatever kind of apps and stuff you need out there. So, hold on one second here. I'm actually gonna roll off for just a moment. Hang on. Hey, what's up? Okay. It's like I was saying, got our Aurora controls out here. Just kind of give us an idea of, give you guys an idea of what we're building out here, kind of what the controls are that we've got. Like I said, so we're going to be doing the rating control. And I think I will make that one SVG based. Let's go ahead and let's make a new control out here. So I'm going to say all right, let's come out here. We'll call this one rating. All right, so the way Skia works is you kind of get a canvas that you have to paint on. And I've kind of got like a base canvas already set up here. So I'm just actually going to see. I've got a control I was working on here recently that'd probably be good, that I'm going to use as kind of like a reference while I'm doing some stuff here. Let's pull that bad boy out over here. And I'll use that as I'm coming back and forth. Cool. All right, so my base class here is going to be Aurora View Base. And what that's going to give me is basically just some hooks to get in and do my painting. Underneath the sheets, we could take a peek at it here. What it's doing is we've got like a handful of processors out here on this thing, so you could apply like visual effects to our controls. So if you want to pixelate something or make it black and white or do like color overlays, like a sepia tone color overlay, you could do that. And then we just have like a bunch of other hooks for things to let us know like when the control's been attached and detached from the hierarchy out there in Xamarin.Forms. So just kind of gives us some helper stuff. Nothing too crazy out here, but just things to make developing these controls a heck of a lot easier for me, to be perfectly honest with you. Right, so we've got our paint control out here, and this is going to be our primary driver. All right, so then coming back here, we're talking about our ratings control. So this guy's going to need we're going to need like an SVG source. I'm just going to use these. I guess we're going to need like an upper bound. So we'll kind of say like, what's your rating upper bound? Because I think it's always just going to be from 0 to whatever. We'll need a foreground color and a background color. And then we'll probably just need some way to kick out the current value. All right. Let me got another one that I think will be pretty helpful for me here in just making this guy. So I'm just going to go and get this one over here too. Cool. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to do kind of like what we have out here for my chips control. Let me come back here. We're going to want to set up some properties just to get our SVG and stuff like that in here. So got a little snippet out here for Visual Studio that kind of makes setting these up a little bit easier. So we'll call this one embedded image name. And this will be an SVG or string. So the way we do our embedded images is, or the way we do our SVGs, excuse me, is rather we've got them set up in our projects to just come in as SVG properties, or excuse me, our SVGs come in as embedded resources inside of our projects. What am I doing here? I'll do something. Silly. Oh, yeah, I put this right in the middle here, didn't I? So let's take a step back. So I've got our SVGs get included into your projects if you set them up as embedded resources. So you just add an embedded resource to your Xamarin project. You could put it in the iOS project, the Android project, or in the core project as well. We've got ways to load them. And then basically what we'll do is we'll just point it to the name of that embedded resource. And this will be able to pick that up and use that to draw out there. The SVG loading, you know, it comes at a cost though. So typically I like to have this set up so that I can sort of read it and get it integrated one time. And then once we have it integrated or kind of read in there, I'll just keep on using that same exact embedded resource. So got a little bit of stuff here that we could call into to get that up and running. And I'm just going to go copy and paste my way to success a little bit here. Right, so this is basically just some controls or some setup here just to allow us to read in those SVGs. SkiaSharp kind of rules. It's got built-in support for SVGs as like a first-class item. So we could just read this in and kind of get up and running there. Which one was the one here? What kind do you want? That's right. These gotta switched out here. Close up some of this other stuff here. So we'll just set that up there. All right, so now we've got basically what we need to read in our SVG. So we've got our bindable property, so we could set this up so that it gets read when we set up our UI out there. And then this method down here, set SVG resource, will read in that embedded resource name. I've got kind of like a caching loader that I've built into the Aurora controls. And what this will do is read in that resource, pull it in as a stream, and then we could just assign it to our SVG right here. So we'll pull it in and just hold on to it right away. Okay, so now we've got our SVG resource kind of set up there. Next up, like I was saying, I think we're going to need a property. Oops. And we'll do this one as a bindable property again. This will be our max value. And I guess we'll just do it as a double. And we'll default that one to 10. 5 stars or 10 stars? What's our default rating out there? We'll say 5, because 5's bigger, and 5 will make bigger images on the screen, so that'll actually probably look a little bit nicer. Okay, so we got our max value out there. We need, what else do we need? Let's take a look back here. So we've got our, so I guess we'll do like so SVGs are weird because they could supply their own color. Like you'd have a full color SVG, like it's not just a black and white thing, right? So it's either that I need to force an overlay for like deselected and then do another one for selected. I guess we could do that. Let's start with that at least. That'll probably be okay. So we'll say like to overlay color and selected overlay color. We'll just call it that for now. Maybe we'll change those names. Those might be silly. All right. One thing about these controls then too is we don't, if we don't have to, we don't want to draw all the time with SkiaSharp. You know, like if we could just let it draw when it needs to draw, I guess that's kind of ideal. So, but we still need to let it tell us when it needs to draw the screen. And so we could do that just by telling our canvas to invoke. And I've got this invalidate surface call out here that we'll use. My stuff got kind of goofist here. Let's see if we can clean this up. This looks not great. All right, so it's max value. We're gonna kind of tuck these guys together here. right, so we got our overlay, we got our max color, we got our embedded. What am I missing here? Embedded image. Did I get rid of the selected one? All right, so we'll do our selected overlay color here. Again, we need to instruct it. We need to instruct it that if we do change the color, we want it to update and redraw everything out there. So yeah, so I think kind of have what we need to get this thing up and running. So let's go ahead out here, and doesn't actually like do anything yet, right? So let's just set up like a little test harness for it. So we're going to set up a test harness into our little test app out here. I just realized I've been showing my browser this whole time. I apologize. I don't think anybody's in quite yet, so it doesn't matter anyway, but whoops. Yeah, didn't see what I was doing anyway. Let's do a quick repeat. So we set up some controls for showing our SVGs out here. Set up our max value property. Set up our max value property out here. And then we set up some properties for controlling the SVGs out there. Just getting a few things set up here, y'all. Bear with me for a moment. All right, yep. So like I said, what we're gonna do is we're actually just to kind of help us get up and running here, we're just going to slap this control onto this test page that I have out here. This is kind of just my quick and dirty way to get some stuff set up out here and make sure that we are good. So we'll just say Aurora, colon, and this is going to be our rating. And set up a little bit here, and let's say, so our rating, we'll give this a name. We'll give our rating name rating, and we'll say color. We had that overlay color, and let's do something disgusting. So I'll just like use fuchsia, and we need our selected overlay color, and we will do something that'll stand up against that. So we'll do Dodger blue. All right, some other defaults in there, so that'll get us enough just to get up and running. Okay, and just to make sure that we haven't blown stuff up, so I'm in my paint control here, just to make sure that we got this going and we've got things kind of moving. I've got this method that I use all the time in our Aurora controls called paint control. I'll just kind of show you what it is doing in here. It's nothing crazy. Again, it's just sort of a way to help me standardize my drawing. And basically in SkiaSharp, what happens is whenever you tell it to invalidate so you have this canvas. So if we think like in Bob Ross terms, you've got this canvas. You've already put on your titanium white, perhaps. And then you need to go in there and you need to start drawing on it, right? And if you've got something that, like a user interface or a property or something that's changing on it, like we're going to have in our case where we've got these controls that are going to say like, hey, or these properties rather that are going to say, hey, you've changed the background color. Have you done something like that? We're going to need to tell it like, hey, you need to go and redraw the canvas. And so you do that with canvas invalidation. I'm going to trigger those, like I was kind of showing here. I'm going to trigger those out here basically when you set the properties, and then out here I've got this hook for it that I call paint surface internal, and it's basically just going to go and do a couple things for me, like clear the canvas, kind of prep it up, and like I was mentioning earlier, we've got these effects that apply afterwards, so if you have any visual effects, it's going to loop through those and apply those afterwards. But end of the day, you could think of it, it's just like a real simple canvas invalidation type loop. It's not running all the time, it's just sort of running on demand. But what I want to do is just kind of get this thing set up first. So we're going to say canvas. We need to get our canvas from the surface. So surface dot canvas. That'll give us our canvas that we could work with. And then we'll do something, like I was saying, simple just to get started here. So we'll say canvas dot draw color. And we'll say var, let's see, our selected overlay color. Whoop. This isn't the most efficient way to do this, but we'll do this for now. It's going to be this dot selected overlay color dot to sk color. And this will allow us to take our forms color and convert it to a SkiaSharp color. Again, like I said, it's not the most efficient. If you really want to do this more efficient, when you set the overlay color property up here, what would probably be smart to do is just to automatically assign that to an SK color and just hold on to that all the time, because there's no reason to do that extra work if you don't have to do it, I guess, right? So, but we're just getting started here. We'll come and optimize things later on. So lay color, we'll draw that out here. And yeah, so let's just go ahead, let's just verify that our stuff looks good here. Just gonna build my app really quick, and then we will pump it out here to the simulator. And there we go, there's that. I can't remember what that thing was, like Mets blue or something goofy like that. Dodger blue. I'm not a New York fan, so I don't know. All right, so we've got our default control out here. Just gets like a default hide assigned to it and everything like that. So we can clean that up if we need to, but good enough for now. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start drawing our SVGs in there. So I kind of need to figure out the rectangle size that I'm going to have. So I've got my surface and my canvas, but Forms allows us to do some other things on a control, like set the margin. So we need to kind of accommodate for that to know what our true rectangle size is. So I'm just going to say, so we'll say var rect equals a new sk rect, and so I'm going to make a new rectangle here. I'm going to write it out. Some people hate the way that I write some of my code, but we're just going to have to deal with it today. It's basically going to be, we'll grab our margin here. Margin, actually, I guess we'll just be able to do this. I don't have any padding or anything right now on this, so this actually will work just fine. So it's going to be margin left, top, and I'm probably going to have to float all these. whoops. Should probably make just like an extension method for that or something. But again, we'll just kind of do it explicitly and then we'll get nuts later. All right, so now I got to figure out, so I've got that rectangle. Now I need to know like what my maximum rating is. So I kind of have to go and split up that rectangle into individual pieces. So let's go ahead and we'll say var rating item width is going to be my rect.width divided by I guess somebody could be silly and they could make it keep on slouching down here. I guess somebody could be silly and they could end up making this so that they give it a value of like 0. So what we'll do, max and whatever. I'll do that later as a property. Let's not get over our skis here. So say we get our total width and we're going to divide that by our max value property. And so this will give us the width of each one of our SVG items. All right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say, we'll just pull this guy out here because we're probably going to need this. So var I think I'm going to have to do this as like math.ceiling, because like if somebody gives it a value of 4.5 or something, I kind of have to have like 5-star value. I'm also going to int it out here, so we'll see how this goes. I guess I have to, whatever. This will do it. This will get me what I need, I think. All right, so so then for each one of these ones, we're going to need to go and draw our SVG. This is where I've got some code that I wrote before that I'm going to snag to help me do this just a little bit easier out here. Right, so we're just going to say, I guess first we need to check and see if there's an SVG that's even been provided, because if there isn't, it's not drawing anything. So if so if our SVG is not equal to null, then we can go do some stuff here. All right, so the big thing that we have to figure out first is like how to make that SVG that we set in there fit. So I'm going to assign this. I'm going to assign my SVG, my embedded image name. I'm trying to think of SVGs that I have in there. I know I've got a Splatoon SVG in here. Nintendo, please don't sue me. You guys are cool. We love your video games. And when we first started doing these controls, my kids were playing Splatoon a lot. And they're like, hey, can you do something like this? Because this would look cool, Dad. So I said, yeah, sure. So we've just got a Splatoon SVG in there. So what we're going to do is we need to pull in this SVG. But the thing is, like, this SVG resource could be gigantic. It could be small. We don't know. SVGs sort of scale, right? They're vector based so that they could scale really big and small. And so what we need to do is we need to take whatever that SVG image is, and we need to make it fit into this like blue area that we have out here. So I'm gonna need to shrink it, grow it, do something with it just to make it so that it'll fit into what we need it to be. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make like a rectangle that's going to hold our control out here. So we're gonna say var, we'll call this, it's gonna be a rating item rectangle, and this is gonna be a new rectangle, or SKRect, that I'm gonna draw here. And this SKRect is going to be, so we're always going to need to, so we're always going to start at the left, and then we'll take, so it's always going to be rect.left, so that's our like overall rectangle, left plus, and then this will be my rating item width times I, right? So we're gonna start drawing a rectangle, right? So if our rectangle's like this, just put my hands up, right? If our rectangle's like this, we're always gonna kind of have to shift it over based on where we're at. So we'll say left times I. Our top is always going to be the same as our rect top. Our right then is going to be like this same thing, but with our I plus 1. Right? This is where I get, people always give me flack. I like write things vertically, and it makes some people incensed, but I think it's easier to read. Right, so we'll just set these up here like that, and that's going to be a rating item rectangle. Now what I need to do is I'm going to need to get it so that my SVG fits into this rectangle. So we're going to say, we're just going to call this like var. I guess what a rect. Oop. I'm going to say this like, it's just kind of like our container, because then it's actually, I have to like shrink it down and actually get the SVG in there. So so then we got to take our rating container rect, and I need to, what I need to do, so I need to get my SVG fit into this container here. And basically what that's going to mean is, you know, like I was saying, our SVG has its own canvas, and it could be big or small, bigger or smaller than the area that we have to draw. So I need to resize that SVG to fit into my area that I need to draw this thing in, right? So, and if I look at my SVG here, you can see I got a canvas size on it. It comes with its own canvas size. So we're gonna just aspect fit this thing and try to get this thing scaled out there, I guess, basically. Let's see, what do I gotta do next? Some additional scaling stuff, I guess. Now that I kind of know like my sizing that I can get away with here, I kind of need to make sure that I choose whatever like my smallest amount is. So the rectangle that it comes back with might be like skinny, or it might be like, you know, tall and skinny, or like short and like fat, like tall and skinny, like, you know, tall and skinny kind of thing, or like shorter and squattier out there. And so when I draw this, I need to choose whichever one of those two sides is the smaller, just so I can get everything kind of in the middle there. So I don't honestly feel like writing this out by hand, so I'm gonna copy and paste this stuff just to kind of help me get that sized out here. All right, so basically what I'm doing out here, like I was saying, I need to get whichever one of these is smaller. So I'm going to say math.min, and let me see if I can just like hide these out here. I don't really need to be looking at these. I have to get my scale amount to figure out like which one of these is the smallest, right? So I'm going to take that new size that I got. So I've got my, I need to figure out which, you know, after this thing's been scaled, using that smallest size, I need to figure out like what's the maximum amount that I need to scale this thing down to. And so I'm basically going to look at the canvas sizes width and the like fit rectangles width out here, just figure out which one of these two is the smallest, and that will help me figure out how I'm going to scale the image down end of the day. SkiaSharp then has a bunch of cool stuff built into it. So you can see like I've got these matrices that it will create for me, so I don't actually have to do like the matrix by hand. And so I can make a matrix to do like some scaling amounts. This is going to do like some vertical and horizontal scaling, some XY scaling for me there. And it will do it like if I just give it X and Y, I think the pivot point's right in the middle. Otherwise, you could specify like a particular pivot point if you wanted something to scale in at a particular place. And then I could also translate it, so I can move it somewhere else. So translation is going to move it, you know, on the X and Y axis out there. So I'm going to take, now that I've got my image scaled, I've got my SVG scaled, I need then to instruct Skia that I'm going to have to basically take my image canvas that I already drew out earlier for my SVG. So this SVG earlier, I already built a canvas for it. I'm basically just telling it like, hey, you're going to have to do a little bit of work here to just get this thing kind of figured out there. All right, so I think with this, I might have everything that we need to actually draw this out on the screen. This might just work. Let's find out. Oh, messed something up. So let's put a breakpoint on here. Let's find out. I don't know if this will trigger it off coming back onto here. Yeah. Let's rerun it again here really quick. All right, so this kind of worked out right. So I've got my max value out here is 5. My width is, oh, I've got no width on that yet. So let's see. Oh, weird. It's because I'm a goofus. All right, let's try this again. It's gonna actually wipe that simulator for a quick moment here too. All right, yeah, I didn't like give this, I set this thing the left and the top, but I didn't actually pick up my width of my rectangle out here, which is, you know, probably helpful. So I was like, man, that couldn't have been that easy. And indeed, it was not that easy. So we need to take our right margin here, and we're gonna actually do it this way. So we're gonna say info. So info is gonna give us stuff to tell us like the size of our canvas out here, this info object. So I'll say like info.width minus my right there, right, and then info.height minus my margin at the bottom. Again, it's Saturday. Moving a little bit slower today than we normally would. I've got my trusty Xamarin University, Xamarin MVP mug here, still holding strong. After all these years. Now let's see. Do we have somewhere to actually draw? So again, if you're just joining now, just jumping in, we're doing Xamarin.Forms and SkiaSharp development today. Looking to implement some of these Fluent controls provided out there by Microsoft. So doing the rating control. All right, let's go take a look out here. Do I actually have a width this time? Hey, that's better than nothing. There we go. Cool, check that out. So I've got my little squid dudes out here. Those look good. And again, like the actual SVG image could have been bigger or smaller. It's hard to say. But you know, we did a little bit of work here. So, you know, this rating item container rectangle found like the full area. It's kind of like, maybe I can just draw this one out here really quick here. I'll do this will help visualize it a little bit. We'll say canvas.draw rect, and we'll do a rating item container rectangle, and I don't have a paint object yet. Can I do? No, let's make one. We're probably gonna need one anyway. All right, so we're just gonna make a paint object here, and then we can do some painting. So I don't know. I guess I kind of want to do a random color because I want to do something different every time here to kind of show this. So I know I'm not going to keep this code. I don't know why Visual Studio keeps on blinking on the stream either. That's kind of weird. Apologize for that. I don't know if there's much that I could do about it this second, though, unfortunately. I'm just going to go snag some code to do some like random color drawing garbage. Probably wrote like a random. Well, this will do. We don't want this to like get out in the wild, but this is kind of crap. But it's like, it'll be fine for right now. For illustrative purposes. So we've got our RN Jesus out there for anybody who plays. I don't know, anybody who plays games. Pray to RN Jesus and get the random number generator that'll help you out in life. What am I doing here? Expected. Probably want that one. We'll just kind of show those rectangles out there then. Right, so like I was saying, kind of just reorganize this so we can read this a little better, huh? Right, so first thing that we did is we found this rectangle. So we actually, taking one step back. So we did a little bit of math up here to figure out, you know, if we've got 5 items or so, you know, what's the amount of width that we need to assign for each one of our rating items. And then just kind of cleaned it up here. So like in case somebody puts, since it's a double, you know, if somebody puts like 4.5 or something like that, we're just going to round it up to the next highest and use that. And then we've got our rating item width out here, which is going to just be that integer value divided by the number of items. I did it as a float here. Yeah, I guess that is kind of redundant, right? That's fine. I just want to make sure that I don't lose some precision out there so we don't end up like kind of getting it into a weird, like slightly too small, just from rounding it, you know, kind of getting stuff rounded out. But then what we're going to do is, so now I know that, you know, like if my max rating is 5, for example, here, we're going to loop through each one of those, build a like max bounding rectangle. So you can see that's what's getting filled in with that random color out here right now. And I just drew that rectangle out so we could see it. And then we've got a little bit of code that we pulled in here to say like, hey, here is my here's my max like container rectangle for this item here. Here is my SVG's canvas size. So again, like I was saying, the canvas for that SVG could be like pretty big, could be pretty small. It just depends on how the SVG is configured. Like if we look at, we could probably just like look at this one. SVGs are just XML files. So if I can go and find where I put this one, there we go. We'll see it out here, and I think it does it based on the view box. So like this one by default wants to be about, or maybe it does it by the width and the height. It does it by one of these two, but either way, it's like the same thing basically. So it's like 156 by 168, which is bigger than the area that we have. So I need to take that canvas size and then figure out like, hey, if I scale that thing to fit inside of this container, what's that new rectangle that comes out of that? That new rectangle that comes out of that, then I need to figure out which one of those, which one of the sides is smaller. So is it the width or the height that's smaller, assuming that, you know, like even in this case, you know, the height's actually taller than the width. So we're going to shrink this thing down to use the width as the max value out there. All right, so that's what the scale amount's doing. And then I'm going to make a matrix or a couple of matrices out here to say first scale, do a scale based on that smallest amount that I had out here, and then do a translation. And the translation is based on this item rating, this rating item size. So basically, you know, if I've got a bigger box and then I had to like shrink to fit it or aspect fit it, you know, either shrink or grow it to fit it inside of the bounding box, it might be like shifted over some pixels to the right or, you know, stuff like that. So this translation is basically just going to help me say like, take that image wherever it was at and sort of readjust my original canvas to readjust my image to get it kind of where I need it to be inside of its bounding container, if that makes sense. So I combine those two matrices together here just by using the scale and the translation. And then I use the picture property from my SVG to paint that using the matrix provided out there. All right. That works and kind of gets us going as a starting point, but there's sort of an issue here. So I actually want, so the SVGs themselves could have colors inherent to them. So again, if I take a look at this one, when it's drawing this particular SVG, I'll see if I can find it somewhere in here. Yeah, like you can see that it's doing these like this path work. So again, these are all vectors, so it's creating a path. And then what it's going to do is it's going to fill those paths with colors. So you could have, I just like kind of scroll down to my demo app here, like some SVGs could be pretty colorful. So if you take a look here, Like this one's a great example. This is actually an SVG image. You can see it's got the Xamarin logo, the Microsoft logo, and the Skia logo all in it, all with different colors and everything, just because that particular SVG has all that defined in there. If we take a look at how our sort of this fluent control looks like, though, I don't think we are going to want to have it use the colors provided by the SVG. I think we're just going to override. We're going to kind of paint on top of our SVG with whatever color gets provided by the control. And then when it's highlighted, we'll show the highlighted color. So, and that's okay. It's easy enough for us to draw on top of it and kind of do that. So, I probably want to give these some real colors out here instead of default color, but again, I'll clean that up later. I'll do that a little bit later. So instead of just drawing our picture, we're going to need to modify our draw out here a little bit to have us draw our picture, and then we're going to actually want to paint on top of it. Okay, so let's do a little bit of painting here. So modify, do some work with my paint objects. I'm going to say paint, like these, since I'm going to be drawing on top of an SVG, I want the drawing to look nice. So I'm going to say is anti-aliasing equal to true. So that's going to help us anti-alias kind of like any drawing that we do out there. That's probably fine for now. I'll turn these off for a moment. And let's do some work out here. So we're going to draw our picture there. Then we need to do some work for our paint. So I'm going to say paint dot color, and that's going to be my, I made like an overlay color earlier. I pulled that out. So we'll say, yeah, it's just our overlay color, I think is what I called that. And we'll do it the fun way. So I'm going to say canvas, draw paint, and we'll do our paint. So check this out. So this isn't going to work exactly. This is a demo. So if I draw this right now, you know, previously we had it drawing our SVG. Oops. Where? Right, and like I was saying, we want to like draw a color. I don't actually want to use like the SVG as is. I actually want to draw like on top of it. What I wanted to do is I want to draw on top of it where I've already drawn before. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to modify the way that I paint a little bit. And this is so cool. This is something I think is really, really pretty neat. So we're going to change the paint's blend mode. And I don't really come from a graphics background at all, to be perfectly honest. So some of this stuff, like, you know, I'd messed around in Photoshop and whatnot before, like everybody has, I'm sure, at some point in time. But some of this stuff was kind of new to me. So we've got these, there are these Porter Duff blend modes that we're going to use out here. And we're going to use this one that's going to be called, I think it's source in. Let me take a look at the description, because boy, do I suck at these things. And remembering what all of them do. So the source that overlaps the destination replaces the destination. Right. And so I think what that's gonna do is that, so whenever we've got drawn pixels on our canvas today, and we're gonna redraw over the existing pixel, so it's basically saying, you know, when I go to draw on my UI, or on my canvas, excuse me, go find places where there's existing pixels out there And if there are existing pixels, use this blend mode to draw on top of anything that, that exists in that area, right? So if I run this again, what we should end up with is our SVG controls should be that blue color now. I believe. And they are. Right, so we're going to use that blend mode to make those squids out there a nice blue color. So it looks cool. So we've got that kind of moving here a little bit. This is very, oops. Probably would help if you guys could see this, right? So it's my first stream, guys, so bear with me, y'all, as I work through this. Right, so what I was showing here before, or not showing rather, was did some painting. So we're actually going to draw, we drew our SVG here first, and then we're going to draw our overlay color. Okay, and we're going to draw that overlay color, like I was saying, with this blend mode of source in. Let me see if I can actually get Porter. Yes, this site's pretty cool. Maybe I'll just show this out here in my browser. So right, so there's all these different types of blend modes. Here's like a really good explanation, or kind of a visual idea of how these blend modes go together. So you could say, here's your source, like a top, over, draw it over, right? In, out, sort of cut it out if you wanted to have your new drawing cut out of the old one. Source, destination, you know, like all the different. So this would be like source. In our case, we use source in. And so that's where here, this was like, so here's source and destination, right? And we did a source in. So you could see how kind of we had an existing source and then we painted on top of it. We had existing pixels and then we did source in, painted on top of it here to get that set up. That's cool. So now we've got our squids. Thanks, Sir Ralph Unit. Appreciate it. Appreciate the Bob Ross. Right, so we've got that kind of set up here. Next up, we probably need to draw this thing based on what our current value is in relationship to our max value, right? So I don't think I have a value property out here. I don't. So let's add a value property. Oops, so we're going to do this as a bindable property. So I've got a little helper out here. And let's call this value. That's going to be double as well. And again, anytime this one changes, we want to notify. It's going to be default double as the value, so it's going to come in as 0. And we need to figure out to draw our selected overlay color over our squids out here, right? And so we're going to do that outside of this for loop. We'll just do this all the way down over here. And actually, I'm going to change the scope of my paint. So I think we just use the same dang paint like the whole way through, which is cool. You figure out your formatting. I always forget what that one is. I think it's like, was it shift? I always forget. There's a key command there, but I'll figure it out later on. I'll remember what it is later on. All right, so I think we're good with drawing those squids out there. Now we're going to draw the overlay for those squids. In fact, we're going to use that same blend mode. So we'll set that up as the default for our paint as well. And we need to figure out, so we need a percentage base for where our current value is in relationship to the max value, and that's going to tell us where to draw our overlay highlight. And so we're going to say var value percentage. So we'll say, I'm writing too much link lately. If our value and I always like for these bindable properties, I should probably do like some performance testing, but I always pull these into local variables along the way, just in case they get changed. And also, like when it reads this thing out, it has to read it out of the dictionary underneath the sheets, and I just don't want to constantly read that all the time. So I'll pull them and hold on to them as local variables. So where value is greater than, right? So just so if our value is greater than something here, let's give it like a really small double value. Then what we're going to say is our equals max. Did I pull that? I've used that one earlier too. Yeah, max rate, max. We'll do it like this. Okay, Visual Studio. Visual Studio's Visual Studioing. Man, sometimes. Excuse me. Here's a new one. I've lost the ability to type into rating. Let's come back. Oh, Visual Studio for Mac. When will you learn? All right. So say what? Did I like really lose the ability to type? I've lost all ability to type. Is that everywhere? No, it's just in Visual Studio. Let's this is the most Visual Studio thing it could do. Maybe if we stop running, it'll. No. So if anyone from the Visual Studio team is watching, y'all, we lost the ability to type into our IDE, which isn't maybe ideal. Hey, it came back. There we go. Okay. So our max value then is going to get divided by our current value. Or excuse me. Probably don't need to have this. Oh. That's all right. So then our percentage. So our percentage here is going to be, we're going to use that rectangle that we had from earlier. That's our like max size rectangle. So it's our rectangle up here. And then we're just going to basically find out the width of it and kind of use all the other settings for our rectangle, but resize the width based on our current percentage. So we're going to say var, we'll call this selected rect equals new sk rect, and our rect.left is the same, our rect.top is the same, our right's the one that's going to change here now. So now we're going to do rect.left, and I'm going to multiply that by rect.width, or rect.left, excuse me. I'm going to add that with rect.width times my percentage, and then my rect.bottom, right? And this is probably, you want this to be a float. Don't want an S set in there, right? So it's probably what I want that to be. And then based on this, so I'll just do like if, because we'll skip the drawing if we don't have to do it. We'll say if selected rect dot width greater than 0. So if we actually like have something to draw, so I think that's a float, right? If we have something to draw, then we'll actually say paint.color equals our selected overlay color here, and then I'll say canvas.draw rect, and we'll draw a rectangle. And because we're using that same source in blend mode, it should draw on top of what we've got out there. And so I could say selected rect and paint. And just so we could see if this works, I'm going to assign just a default value out here. What's our value? Did I not? Value's there. I don't know why this isn't picking it up, but value is going to equal 2. All right. Xamarin.Forms just being funny. Well, I don't think it got it. Let's go see what I did wrong. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so our left, 318 and a height of 80. So that seems right. Let's see. what did I do here? Draw our overlay color, get our percentage. Set our paint color here. And that is, I think, oh. Would help if I wasn't a dingus, maybe. There we go. Let's try it again. Maybe if you don't draw the same two colors on top of each other, they'll actually do what you want. Ah, there we go. Right. So check it. We've got our, I should have realized this earlier. I did fuchsia as the overlay color. Whoops. All right, so we've got fuchsia there. So that's our just sort of overlay color. That's our default overlay color. And then we're going to have it as you touch and progress here. That we change those colors. Right. So cool, let's add some touch controls to this bad boy then. And I've got something for you. So again, in my, I've got that view base here, stuff to help me fumble my way to success. Or actually, excuse me, it's not even part of my view base. It is part of SK Canvas View. Because the team that does this, Matthew I know in particular, has made this a pretty awesome control library for us to use. And so as part of that, he's got the ability to intercept touch events. And we're just going to piggyback on that and listen for some touch. And we'll use that then to control the value property on our UI. So we're going to say override on touch. And I think it's like E dot in contact. Ooh. I like that. I didn't realize that was. I wonder if that's new. Maybe if we're going to go with in contact. I didn't realize that was one before. So we're going to say like if touch is in contact. I always used, there was like some up and down ones, cancellation, but I'm into this. So we need to instruct it that we are handling this as well, so that E has a handled boolean that we need to set equal to true, just to say like, hey, yeah, we're actually going to deal with the touch events here and don't forward them down the stack to somebody else who might be listening to those. And what we need to find out though is where we are. So if we look back at our sample app here, like if I'm looking at these Splatoon characters, like where are you touching on this control in relationship to the full size? So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this rectangle that's sort of like my real control size. I'm going to move this to be a like a full, you know, I'll make this like a class-wide variable. So I'll just rename this really quickly. We'll rename this to rect, and we'll say rect up here. And so for in contact, and also if our rectangle, is not empty, and we'll just There's an empty one, so we'll just default that to empty out here. So if it's not empty, we need to find out where our touch is in relationship to our rectangle out here. So let's take some baby steps. Okay, so we're going to say e dot, where do we have location? Yeah, so our touch. E dot location dot, I really just care about the x value here. Touch x. And we'll say if, I think I could do like a rectangle check. So I could do contains. So that's actually, we'll do that here. So if we're touching inside of that rectangle, that's cool. I guess I'll probably need to take that x and then subtract the, I'll just subtract the left amount, because this x is going to be in relationship to the entire control, but I'm not actually drawing on the entire control. So I'm going to say, I'm going to subtract the leftmost part of my rectangle from there, and we'll use that as our starting point. And then I need to get my like touch percentage, so it's going to be let's see, we're going to say our touch percentage is going to be, we'll just do width minus touch x, and then my value then is going to end up being our max value times. Looks good to me. Let's ship it. Sync. Let's see if we're getting that touch in here. You know what? We need to enable touch on the control. That'll probably be smart, huh? So we can do that here. So we just need to enable touch on the control to tell whether or not it should even be looking for touch. Out there at all. So we'll turn that on, give that a rip. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday morning out here. Well, clearly I've done my math wrong, but we're in the ballpark. Let's go find out where I goofed. Let's see here. Right. So if I touch, this feels like that area. Okay. So we're going to say, oh no, you know what? That's not what I want. Although my value is insane. Hold on. Clearly my math is not right. All right, so we're going to say I'm a total dingus. Hang on. Turns out the math was not right. You know, math. Who needs it? Apparently we do. Okay. Ah, there we go. Now look at that. Although the drawing on here looks a little gross. Looks like it's being like overdrawn, and I'm pretty sure I know why. We're gonna break out our titanium white, y'all. It's constantly overdrawing on this thing, so like I never cleared the canvas out. So what's happening out here is you'll notice, like, see how this kind of looks like if you ever took a rubber stamp and stamped it on top of itself a bunch of times, it starts getting kind of bleedy and fat out there, right? So that's sort of what's happening here. So I'm going to breaking out titanium white, and we're going to do not any of that is what we're going to do. Let's clear our canvas. There we go. No, I think this will look nice. Thanks, Ralph Unit. Glad to hear that you're having a good Saturday. Hopefully you're enjoying this SkiaSharp content out here. Ah, yes. See how that looks a lot like CRISPR now? Not like somebody drew over it 800 million times. Perfect. So yeah, so this looks good. Looks better. All right, well, what else do we want to add to this? I guess I could probably put like something to make it where you could only like go to these. So if we go back to, like, let's take a look at this control. Get to the browser, right? Some of these controls, like, I know, see, all these ones are like full percentage. What happens if I don't really believe in doing it as a full percentage? Like, they've got that one in like half star mode. Do they have one that's like, usually like some of these things you could do like a quarter star or a half star. I also I suppose it depends on if you're like touching them. You probably want people to touch them and have it be like a full star. But if you're like doing an aggregated number and just using this as display, you probably want to have it show like 3.5 stars. So let's do let's slap a Boolean on here, and we'll say I don't know if they've got like somebody else probably thought of the name of these better than I'm going to. So let's see if we can. They actually have 2 different icons that they use like a full they've got two icons on here. They've got like their unselected icon and then their regular icon. I could do that. We could do that. Let's do that. Did they create these things for mobile yet? No. All right. Well, I think this segment, let's go do some investigation. So we've got our slider control. I think, doesn't it have something in here that's like it's got like a step or something, doesn't it? I should probably, I can't have all these memorized. Let's see. Those are fields. Let's take a look at the properties here. Maximum, minimum. Well, I'm going to call this thing whole number, or like use whole rating. These aren't great names. They're the names I'm choosing. Right, so we're going to say like whole number. How do you like that one, y'all? And we're just going to use that to control whether or not when you change a value, how it gets assigned out there. And I guess we could do that out here in this bindable property. We need I think it's the coerce value delegate. This guy have to, does this have to do something like that? Yeah, what's value? It's an object, cool. Let's coerce the value. Teach it a thing or two here. So we'll say if bindable is rating and our is so we'll say so I only need to do this if I only need to coerce it if it's a rating and rating dot whole number is true. I'm going to say return val all right, let's do that. Let's give that a shot here. And we'll set that true on our little test page that we got out there. So we'll update our rating block, and we're going to make it, what we're trying to do here is make it so that you can't do like a partial rating, which would be like a partial number rating. So we're just going to bump it up to whatever the current number max is. Okay. Right, so cool. So check that out. So now, like if you see when I'm dragging before, I had, like I could do like a partial squid. Now I can only go max squid. Looks good. Let's break this out into its like own little page, and let's start doing some stuff with it. Because I wonder, no, we'll break it into its own page because I'm going to need to start doing some variations and things like that. So we'll just let's make a new page and start sliding some things in here. So we'll call this our rating page. We're promoting this from the first page of our little test app, and we're giving it a home now, a forever home. All right, so we'll just copy that bad boy out here, and let's throw button out here. Thanks everybody who's joined. For anybody who's new here, what we're doing is forms development and some SkiaSharp to make some custom controls. We're attempting to base them off of these UI fabric components out here. So the one that we're working on right now actually comes from the web side, but I've had some people ask for this before. As part of our Aurora controls, so I'm going to build this out here. So we're doing this rating control out here. So you can see we've got all these cool things set up. Let's see. My Visual Studio was eating it for a second there, but it looks like it's come back to life, so we could switch back. And we're just setting up, right now what we're doing is we're just setting up a test page for this new rating control so that we can get this going. Hey Dan, man, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, I've been wanting to stream for some time now, but boy, my schedule's been a bit goofy, so it's taking me a minute to get this set up. Also, I do apologize. I don't know why, like Visual Studio keeps on blanking in and out here. I'll have to see what I could do there. There are some weird things going on with OBS now that Catalina's been released, and so I'm running some weird dumpster version of OBS. I don't know. That like has support for Catalina, so that thing's flickering. I'm sure it's probably driving everybody nuts, but oops. Hopefully it's okay. Was this a rating page? You rained out, huh? I'd take rain. Out here in Chicagoland, we are past the rain season, right? We are full on into freeze your butt off season. So I guess that's what I get for living out here, huh? Let's see. We've got, so it doesn't know, it's a new page, doesn't know about our Aurora controls, and actually good timing with Dan to be on here. So this is something new that we added support for recently is our own schema for the Aurora controls. There it is. All right, it's pulling all of our controls there. I know Dan was yelling at me for a while to get that done. And that's in there. So that'll be, I can't remember if it's in the current release, but if not, we've got another release coming up here. Probably in the next few days or so of the Aurora controls, and this will all be in there. So just add some padding to make this look a little bit nicer. And some item, or is it spacing for this? Make that look nice as well. Yeah, it definitely is. This is incredible. Because this will actually pull in, you know, we've got it masked so that it'll pull in like all of our different controls that are under different namespaces. Let me see if I can find the definition for it. Yeah, so you go in. So if you've got like custom controls, you could do this yourself for anybody who's developing any kind of like forms controls. And if you've got like a library that you're using across a couple of different projects, you do the same thing, but you basically just do these namespace definitions. You know, you tell it what you want out here, and then you point it to all the different namespaces. And so it can resolve all those without having to pull in 8 gazillion namespaces at the top of your SAML files. So yeah, it is an awesome thing to have in there. Weird, but for a different, that's built within the same. Interesting. That is a weird regression. I wonder why that would be the case. I wonder if it just doesn't package it up right or something like that, or doesn't read in those flags appropriately. Okay, so let's get back to our rating here. So I think we got our new rating page set up here. I'm gonna just make a couple different variations. Make a couple different variations of this, just so we've got a few things to play around with. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder why IntelliSense would pick it up, but the build wouldn't see it. That's even weirder, right? I'll do a max value of 10. We'll see what that looks like. And won't do whole number. The colors, who cares? And let's do some resources out here. What's another logo that I've got? We'll do the Xamarin logo. How about that? Xamarin. And let's just run this to see if it works. And that flickering is something else, huh? I mean, for the high amount of money that I paid for OBS, I can deal with this for right now. Hopefully you guys can deal with it. OBS is awesome, by the way. Like what an insane library out there, insane program out there that somebody, you know, that these people have put together for streaming. Cool. There we go. So there we go. We got our ratings. Doesn't look bad with 10. It's doable. All right, that looks all right. I can deal with that. How'd you guys rate this control out of a number of Zamagons? We'll give it a 7.3. There we go. Bigger text. What do you think? Is that readable? No? You know if that's a little better. A little bigger still. Whew. No problem. I'm on super zoom. I'm gonna turn this down just like one notch. Whoop. There we go. Let me know if that's okay. Let's see, what else do we want to put in here for this one? So we've got our, let's take a look at the control out here. So they've got it where, I think theirs just like stars. Like their rating is just stars. We don't have that. I could probably throw like a default SVG in there, I guess, for star rating. But I know everybody kind of wants to do their own little thing. So ours is kind of like custom icons only right now. They do have disabled, and they also have, where were the, where are those properties for it? Here we go. So we're going to look at the properties that they've got assigned for this one and just see if there's anything else that we want to pull out of here for now. Max and min, I'm going to treat, I mean, I think I'm just going to make mine min. Yeah, so like they don't even support min anymore. Yeah, that's what I was going to do, is just make my min 0 always. Let's see, Matt. Hey, thanks for joining, Matt. Showing off all the stuff that you made out here. That you made to allow us to make stuff, I guess, right? You can change the quality in Twitch. If you go to like the little gear overlay, there's a quality option, like over the video, and I think you could change it to adjust the stream size there if you're looking to go down in quality a little bit. I am big in this now. I can't. There we go. I gotta scroll out here. Unselected icon. So I'll add a second SVG, I guess. And I guess if you have no value selected, we'll use that unselected icon. It's going to look weird, but I think it'll work. I'll have to, I think next time I'll have to change my resolution out here. I've got this on my external monitor, which is, it's like a 2K screen, so it's pretty high res. I'll have to bump that down next time, but probably not going to happen now because then I'd have to do a bunch of stuff with OBS, and that's not something I'm doing at the moment. It's going to become weird. So let's, I'm going to add that second SVG. Let's see how that goes. It should be pretty easy for me to add that in. We're just going to kind of copy and paste what we've got here with our other SVG. So we're going to call this, it's our embedded image name. Stream at 7. How is 720? So Dan, if you stream at 720, does that look? I guess you're probably fine with that then, right? I mean, that's probably readable. It'll scale everything from the IDE and everything like that, right? Anyway, so just bump up the font size. So we're going to add the unselected image name. And I might change pretty much to 720p. Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah, I'll change it for next time then. Thanks for the heads up. Just want to break everybody's internet data caps here today. That was my intention. including my own, which I've had some serious issues with Comcast. If anybody from Comcast is listening right now, I'm not a fan. All right, so we are adding the unselected SVG. We're setting up the property here. So this property basically is saying, hey, whenever this changes out here, we're going to say, whenever this changes, we want to go do some work, I guess. So let me add in some property change notifications. Actually set this up wrong. I guess if I grabbed the wrong. Whoa. Grabbed the wrong default out here. Sorry, it's probably hard to follow. A little bit. So we're going to have this just do some work out here to call in and assign that SVG to a local variable. And we'll just hold on to it just so that we're not constantly rehydrating that SVG. Now, I just had one method out here to do this before, and we're just going to genericize this really quickly. So we're going to say, who do I need to know here? So that's my embedded image name. And we'll say, what else do I need? I need an SVG, so we'll say ref. One of these guys and SVG. Oh, async. Oh, crap, this is async method in it. That's okay. And I'll clean up some of the naming and stuff like that here. I'm just trying to get this set up for the moment. So when I call that one, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to call set SVG resource internal. And I'm going to do that using my SVG and embedded image name property. And then I've got this one that I'll do. And this one is whoop. And my SVG here. Here, actually, excuse me. We're going to say I'm doing this silly. Should you be seeing code? Yeah, you should be seeing code. But I'm a goofus and I forgot to change my screen. Sorry about that, y'all. Again, it's my first time. I apologize. Thanks, Matt, for reminding me. So yeah, I'm just setting this up here. So I'm setting this up so that I can read in the SVGs when they get assigned out there, and then I'm going to assign them to some local variables to hold on to them, so I'm not over reading in these SVGs because it's kind of a heavy process, and I don't want to do it if I don't have to, essentially, right? So let me just change these, and so yeah, sorry about that. You know, sometimes it's hard to do two things at once, and for me in particular. I can be a little bit slow out here. Okay, there we go. So to recap, because I wasn't showing anybody anything for a minute there besides just chatting about stuff and showing my browser, what we did is I added in a new property, because what I want to be able to do is have a different icon out there for when the value is not selected. Because I assume this would be the case where if you had like stars, you might want to have sort of like an outline star for when you don't have something selected, and then a filled in star maybe for when you actually have a value selected out there. So what I did is I just set up a bindable property that is going to be called out here, that we can assign out here rather for doing that that unselected image out there, right? So just kind of getting that stuff stubbed out. So we have that there, and now what we need to do is we need to put that into our draw cycle here. And so now what I need to do is a little bit of figuring out for which SVG I should be drawing at a given point in time. So I can't use just my SVG anymore. I now need to figure out whether I'm drawing an SVG that's currently being selected or not being selected. All right, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more work out here just to figure out. So when we're drawing these ones here, like, you know, for example, like these four to the right or these two up here, should be using a different value. So what I need to do is I need to figure out if my current item falls within the value threshold out there, I think, right? So while I'm doing these, so I'll have to see. Right, so I know that my let's say var. So I've got my max value ceiling. And I know the step is going to be, I've got my current value. So var is going to be if let's see, my max value will be my number of items. Okay. So my value step is going to be how many items I have, which will be to have that called out. How do I have that here? I wonder if I actually need to calculate this way. So if I say I'm going to move my value receiver, I had a value receiver down here somewhere, didn't I? Yeah. Let's move both of these up. So if my current value, so if the value is less than that percentage, and I want to find out, so my current value ceiling. I divided by max. So I think if my value is what do I need to do here? Saturday math. So if my value now is greater than my max value ceiling, then I know you're selected. So I have like a range. Each one of these has like a range, right? And so if you're between or greater than this range, I guess if I just know the left-hand side of the range, that value is greater than that. That should cover me, I think. So say if, so if value is greater than I, right, I think that should, oops. I plus 1. Is that right, or am I doing something stupid here? What am I doing? We'll see how this goes. And I'm going to use that to determine which one of my SVGs to use. I'm going to say SVG. It's either going to be so this SVG is either going to be my, or let's say is selected, or it's going to be my unselected SVG. It's going to be one of these two, right? And I need to add some checks on here, but it's going to be one of these two. So let's just do some modifications to this one. So again, if you're joining more recently, we had to do some work to find out the container that our SVG is going to fit into, because our SVG might either be bigger or smaller than the area that it fits into. So if you kind of look at this again, you'll see, like the actual container for each one of these. Like this one's kind of like a wider rectangle. So we had to do some work there to get these to fit in out there. And so if selected, it's that. I guess I probably have to do some checks to see if my other SVG exists. So this is a little gross, but we're going to deal with it. Not equal to null. Then you're going to use this guy. Otherwise, we're going to use just the regular SVG, I suppose, right? Don't ship this. This is bad. That's not great. Let's go work for now. And I'm going to put a breakpoint on that because I don't trust what I just wrote there. And then let's add some support for this into our little sample code here. So we'll just do a third one, and for our third one, Man, that blinking's it's bad and it's getting worse. I apologize. I don't know why that is happening. So we'll switch between this and, again, Nintendo, don't sue me. You guys are super cool. We're going to use some Nintendo iconography here. So let's see how this goes. So now what we're shooting for here is that if we've got an area of our rating that's not selected, it's going to have a different icon. And then if it is selected, it's going to switch to a new one out there. So let's see, like, is selected. So if my value, all right, well, my value is a beach ball. So we're going to take a quick commercial break while Visual Studio thinks about life and contemplates being at the beach. It's now's a good time. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, send them my way. Because I might be here for a minute waiting for this thing to spin out here. Hopefully Visual Studio didn't totally die out on us. Oh, Dan, it is Visual Studio. It's my favorite Visual Studio. I do love it, actually. It has the logo. It does indeed. All right, so I'm going to give this thing a quick boot here. I don't think it's doing so hot. Let's see. Let me get that back up and running here. Y'all also take a second. Ralph Unit asks, how long have I been writing code? Boy, oh boy. I first started writing code probably like when I was 8 or 9. You know, we had that Windows computer. I guess it was like Windows 3.1, I guess, whatever. Get in there, and there was that, what was that game called? Bananas? Baz? Something like that. I like to get in there and monkey around with that monkey game to change it so that I could win. But yeah, no, I probably didn't really start doing like any kind of development until I was in high school. Started doing some web development at the time. That would have been the thing. Did a little bit of some Flash development. Let me see, it looks kind of goofy. Did some weird things. Yeah, so it's been a while since I've been at it. I'm a little bit older. Been out of college for a minute now. A long set of minutes. So yeah, it's probably been since I was young. Been at it for a while. See, I don't know. I feel like this is, you know what? Hang on. I know I got that as a wide boy. Yeah, but professional development, I guess, probably coming up on 20 years now of doing that, so. Still like doing it, surprisingly. All right, so we got Visual Studio back. I got to adjust the fonts, though, because I'm sure that's probably way unreadable for everybody. So there we go. Let's make that a little bigger. All right. Where did we leave off? The thrilling conclusion. Can we get an unset image name or an unset icon in there? I think the short answer is no. I messed some stuff up here. Let's find out why. My math is bad. So we're starting at I, right? You should be selected. Are you selected? No. It says value. It's 8. It's max value of 10. Or, oops. Oh, okay. Well, that would explain it. It's the weekend, y'all. Don't hate on me too much. So I think that'll be right now. Definitely not. Definitely not right. Let's see, what am I doing here? It is selected. Let's use that one. Otherwise, so here, let me figure this out, and then Dan, I can answer your question here in just a moment. So let's see, we've got this one. So this should be, I don't know if I could tell based on this which one it actually pulled in. So I want to do one where, so this third one, I think. True, yeah. Fourth one. This is my max. Sorry everybody, I'm being a little dumb today here. I need to do something. I'm overthinking myself. There we go. Okay, there we go. I think this time we'll probably do it. We'll see. No promises. Okay, so let's run this, and then Dan, I'll answer your question in just a moment here. I didn't get it either. Whoops. If selected, otherwise unselected, otherwise. So I think this first one should be selected. The second one should not be. Did I do some dumb assignment or something like that down here? Unselected. SVG. Oh, you know what? I got a feeling. Set unselected. No, that's it. That should be my unselected, and that should be my SVG resource here. Sorry, just doing some quick spot checking to see where I did something dumb. unselected should be a Triforce. So I'll answer the question, and then we'll take a look and figure out the issue here. So Dan's question was, he's using his favorite version of Visual Studio, which must be the one for the Mac, and he's wondering how I source my SVGs. And specifically, will it work with icon fonts? Okay, so the way that I have this set up at the moment is using embedded SVGs in the application. So kind of like our default way of handling this, I suppose, is that you would take an SVG image, like if I had this Xamarin one, and you would pop it into your project, the iOS, the Android, or like some shared code project, and then you'd have this SVG loaded. And I've got, in the Aurora controls stuff at least, we've got some components to go in there and allow it to read in, it allows it to read in the SVGs and kind of keep a dictionary of them in memory. And then we can, fairly efficiently scale them out, generate real icons or images on the fly for them, and save those out into your app. So it's actually kind of a cool thing. I guess in this case, we're just reading it into memory in this control, but we've got some stuff in the Aurora controls to sort of like, it'll know the display scaling for your device that you're running it on, and it will make the right SVG scale to the right size of your device, if that makes sense. The control that we have this moment would not work with icon fonts, but that being said, I did just add support for icon fonts to our controls. Again, thank you, Matthew, if you're still hanging out there, for kind of doing some of the basis work out there for getting all the icon font loading and stuff like that. Kind of took that and tweaked it up a little bit. And so it wouldn't be too far-fetched for me to add icon font support into here. It essentially just would be, instead of setting that embedded resource like we've got out here, this embedded icon name, you instead would set it to using some icon font string, I suppose. I'll take this breakpoint off. I can kind of show you some of that support. So I just added, like I said, it'll be in our next release here. You can actually see it. Might be a little bit hard to read just because I've kind of got these as some of the coloring's kind of funny here. But this is a chips control that we just added, and you can see this is actually using icon fonts for the text display. So you can either choose just to do regular text or icon font text in here. So I've got like the I love to code. And that'll be true for pretty much any of the controls that we have that we do all the drawing on. You'll be able to use icon fonts going forward. So you just use regular font, like you can see here with this button. You just use a regular. It'll default to whatever you have is like your default platform font. So I don't know what this one is exactly using. I don't know if that's that was at San Francisco font on iOS, and on Android it'll use Roboto. Or you can do something like this here. You can see this in code. So I could probably add support to this control to do something similar, where what you essentially would do is you would add some text, and then you kind of do the curly mustache, the handlebars in here, and you tell it the name of the icon font, the ASCII control character out there for the icon font, and then the color, and we'll draw out the rest. So it doesn't do it this moment. Again, we just started this rating control this morning, so I don't actually have support out there for it yet. But adding support for that wouldn't be too far-fetched, to be perfectly honest with you. God, this flickering is getting worse. I wonder if I could. Give me a second here. I'm gonna try switching things up just a little bit. We'll see how this goes. This is either going to make it better or worse. Let me see. this thing really quick. Maybe that'll be better. I'll reshuffle these around here. Let's see, do some XAML extensions to make that easier. Yeah, what are you thinking out there? I'm always interested. Yeah, because like the way I've got it right now is you have to set a flag for that. If you want to do the, if you have text that's going to have a mixture of font icons and regular icons, to do this efficiently, I have a Boolean flag that you'll have to set out there on our controls, basically to say like is iconified text, where what it will do is it has to parse this differently and do some work to do the sizing differently than regular text. But if there is a cool way that you could think of to do this, and this has some I could change some of the parser and stuff like this to maybe make this a little bit faster or a little bit cleaner, right? So yeah, if you have thoughts, hit me up. Let me see, like who wants to type? Nobody wants to type that. Yeah, I'd be cool with that. I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. I am down with doing something like that. I think that'd be pretty neat. Yeah, because it is a little bit verbose. And the less typing that we could do, I think the better. But yeah. All right, so hopefully this is better. Hopefully this is readable. Out here, I just switched to showing off the desktop. So hopefully this will be okay. It's still not showing my selected items right, and I'm sure it's because I'm not mathing hard enough out here, y'all. I gotta math harder. So let me see if we could figure this out again. So we're gonna set this like right here. That string's super magic, Dan. Yeah, I don't love it. You know, it's definitely, for sure, it is magic, but it's, you know, gets the job done. I feel like these are the same thing here. Let me see. So both of these came in as 32 by 32. I'm going to take a peek here. Embedded image. Y'all. This is a typing's tough situation. I'm all for the abracadabra interface. I think that's pretty fun. I would do that. Ah, there we go. It helps when you could type. Check that out. That's not confusing to users at all. I think it looks cool. So again, likely what you would probably do is have you'd probably have two very similar icons instead of two dissimilar icons. So you could tap in here and actually see the different loading out there. Matt's back. He's got power. Fantastic. Yeah, what'd you miss? A whole lot of me fumbling around doing bad math. That was a solid 20 minutes or more. But I was adding some support in here so that you could have a selected or a deselected icon, right? So it's by default, you're just going to give it one icon, kind of like we have in these ones up here. And then I added some support, so if you have a deselected icon, you could have a different icon back there. So it looks all right. I don't know. Y'all, what else does a rating need? Let's take a look at the reference implementation. So the reference implementation has a disabled. So really quick, switch back here. So Matt was asking, can I make it snap to the number? The answer to that is yes. I did add, so we added this whole number Boolean property, which I don't love the name of. If somebody's got a better name, please shout it out at me. But you can see up here the Splatoon one, or this kind of squid icon at the top here. You'll notice how it snaps as soon as I get into its space. It'll snap to the full value out there. So that way it'll just, basically in this case, you'll be from 0 to 5. Otherwise, you could do, since we've got, you've got like more granular control, I feel like on a mobile device that you could kind of, I don't know if you want to have partials or something like that. I think that probably works too. Let's do, so taking a look at their reference implementation, they've got this disabled out here. And I think I'm just going to give it, what I think I want to do with this one is when it's disabled, I don't know that I want to show like a gray color or give it like a disabled color, because I think that might be kind of tough with how we've got this implementation here. So what I'm thinking of doing is lightening the colors used if it is disabled. What do you guys think about that? Does that sound good? I could change the saturation on them too, probably. I could like desaturate them, so it's still like there and you could still see it, but maybe it's not as bright as the other ones. I don't know. What does their implementation say for enabled? What do they got out here? Is it just a... Would you like to read more? So they just have a disabled and they've got read only. So we can do read only pretty easily. Let's just do read only. That one I could do without thinking. So we're just going to do another bindable property is read only. Oops, we're going to do that one more time. We're going to make that a Boolean. And is read only, I probably don't need it to invalidate or do anything like that. Really what I need that to do is to, I'm just going to use that to control my touch events, I suppose. So let me just get like a starter block of code here. I guess we'll just do it on property changed. And we're going to say, so now if we change it read only, what I want to do out there is I'm going to say if bindable is rating and new value is bool val, then we'll say rating dot touch equals the opposite of val. Right, so touch events normally enabled. If this is set to true, then I'll disable those touch events. I'm just going to assume that that one works. All right, so for disabled then, I think I'm going to make an executive decision. So let's do disabled. Yeah, let me pop in. I guess we have a disabled, don't we? This. And disabled should probably prevent any changes, but we're going to use it to control color for a moment. Matthew asks, how am I setting up the control? Am I deriving from Skia? Yeah, so absolutely. So I am using, so if we take a look here, if we go all the way up to the control base, so I've got just sort of like a helper class out here called Aurora View Base. Aurora View Base is what we use to do a lot of our drawing for the Aurora controls. And it, in this case, is based on this SK Canvas view. So the SK Canvas view gives us the stuff that we need to know, you know, like how to draw on a canvas, and you know, it gives us the ability to invalidate it, to know when to go and update our drawing and stuff like that. If you're doing this yourself and you're just starting off fresh and you want to do your own custom controls, Matthew, you built this thing here, the SK Canvas view, to make our lives way easier in getting all this stuff set up. So this will do all the, like, the cross-platform setup and everything for like this for, in this case, we're doing it for forms. It'll do all the cross-platform setup for initializing our Skia controls and just kind of getting everything ready for us out there. My Aurora View Base then is really just like helper stuff to make sure that I'm doing my development on Rails more than anything. So, you know, as I'm building out all these Aurora controls out here, I just want to make sure that I pattern them and that I do them in the same way. And so there's nothing super fancy here. It's basically just some stuff just to make sure I pattern things and do it similar, right? But if you're starting these off fresh, I'd use this canvas view. And then, yeah, so like Dan asked, can you do this without forms? And yeah, and Matt answered it too. Yeah, absolutely you can. The SkiaSharp controls, if you're just doing like an Xamarin iOS or like one of the Xamarin native platforms, you could use it there. And very similar to this SK Canvas view that we've got here, there's reference base views that you could use that kind of have everything set up and ready for you to go. It is awesome. Thank you times 100 million, Matthew, for doing this and kind of getting this stuff up and available for us as Xamarin developers. It is really cool. And, you know, like we used to do, I guess I'll give a little bit of like some history or lineage, I guess, of where our Aurora controls came from. We started this project like years ago, and when we started it, we were doing it using the native drawing on every platform. So for our platforms, it was really just for iOS and Android. And the Skia drawing is pretty similar out there for Android, right? It's basically using the same stuff. But drawing on iOS is like almost backwards in a way from how you would draw in Android and how you would draw in Skia. So, and then as we were looking to go to other platforms, it was really daunting because it was like, how am I going to have to write interfaces or build some way to draw all this stuff across platforms in a kind of difficult way. So, you know, when I saw that the SkiaSharp stuff had been made available, it was like game changing for me and for us. And we really haven't looked back since. It's an awesome library. The Skia libraries, especially SkiaSharp, are extremely easy to use, extremely easy to understand. When we got started with this, you know, we were definitely, I'd say, like drawing novices, you know, when it came to doing canvas manipulation and dealing with layers and dealing with all this kind of good stuff. But boy, did SkiaSharp make it easy for us to look like pros pretty fast and easy. And so we absolutely love it. And just the, the amount of like stuff you could do with it is pretty insane. Like, for example, like I'll just show this as like a quick demo, but what would be a good one to show this off with? Like, so I've got this stupid confetti view that I love very much. Like, it basically just allows you to like draw confetti on the screen, right? I'll just have it like infinitely draw confetti. So like it was pretty easy just to draw confetti and to get it to do this and be fairly performant while it's doing it. But then like Skia has some controls in there so that we could like do things like apply, we basically built some like different filters and some different shaders and stuff like that. So you could apply those on top of processing. So like, we've got all these different types of like, we call them effects, like visual effects that you could apply onto our controls. And so like, these aren't 100% universal on our controls, but they're like fairly universal. So you can see like here, it's drawing it with like a pixelation filter on top of it. And it all updates in real time and everything, which I think is pretty neat. And honestly, I don't think I would have been able to do this without SkiaSharp. So yeah, super fan. Matt asks, is this CPU or a GPU view? So, great question. At the moment, most of our controls are using SKCanvas view, which is CPU based, I believe. And we've got other ones which are the GL view based. We've hit some weird drawing issues using the GPU view. So we've stuck primarily to using the non-GPU view, which I know we've hit two weird issues with the GPU view that I didn't entirely think that we would hit. But one was performance. We had some cases where performance was worse using the GPU view, and then we had other ones where the drawing wasn't either, I can't remember if it was like consistent across platforms or maybe consistent in some other way. I can't remember. It wasn't maybe consistent with the CPU view. What we would love to do, and I think it's something that we've kind of been flip-flopping back and forth on, is to have it so that you can configure how you want your controls to be, or even just have like different versions of each one so that you could run it on the GPU or the CPU depending on your need. It's probably something I should file bugs on. But it's one of those things where you kind of roll with what you got. So yeah, so today, by and large, most of the stuff that we have is CPU based. I think there's a couple in there that are GPU based for some of the image editing, but most of these are CPU based. So, but I'd love them to be GPU based because it just make it faster, right? And probably use less resources if we could just pass it off to the GPU to go do all the hard work. So yeah, I will do my best to get you some tickets out there so you could work with that. All right. So back here, what were we doing? Right. So we're going to add enabled, disabled, and I was thinking of having that adjust the colors out here for our rating page. So let's add just a new rating. Control. And this is one that we'll do. We're going to give it a value. So we'll say value like 3, and we'll call this rating 4, and we're going to set read only is the true, so we can't interact with it, and disabled is true. So we'll do those. I think for disabled, like I was saying, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my colors to, I feel like I want to lighten them. Maybe I'll darken them. I don't know. Let's see what looks better. come back to our rating control here. Let's get back to drawing. Right, so again, you know, realistically, anything that you're seeing here you could definitely do if you were starting from scratch. Like I said, I've got a little bit of some Railsy stuff to help me just kind of stay on the right path out there. But realistically, if you had like an invalidation method out there and you were just doing this from stock standard SkiaSharp, you'd be pretty similar here. The actual drawing work that you'd be doing would be exactly the same or similar. So let's see. So we're going to do some adjustments to the color if you're enabled or disabled. So if it's disabled, so we're going to adjust our overlay color. We're going to say overlay color dots. What do I want to do there? I've got some extensions, some color extensions. I can't remember if they're, get some lerp. No. I feel like desaturating it's like what I want to do. Let's see. Whoa. So somebody's actually making a game with SkiaSharp? That rules. That's so cool. I'm going to have to check that out. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for posting that out there. That's actually pretty awesome. That is really cool, actually. So we want to desaturate this color. So I think we could do like, I know we can convert it to like HSL. And then reconvert it. I don't know. Seems gross. Let's give it a shot. That's the one we're going to change. So we're going to say OS. We'll do 80% there, and so we'll change this by 80%, say. Let's make it like very desaturated to begin with. We'll do like 30%. And it's going to be our sauce sole. Again, it would probably be smarter for us to do some of this stuff and like hold on to it. Somewhere else, but we'll optimize later on, y'all. So let's see how that looks. Checking time. I probably got to vanish here in a little bit. Next 20 minutes or so, maybe. So it's looking desaturated, but I don't know, kind of looks stupid. What do you guys think? All right, I can't tap in on that guy because that is disabled. Hey, my disabled works. Let's see what kind of value we're getting out of this out of 100. Super desaturated. It's a float out of 100. I assume that 100 is like 100%. Right? Because this should give us 10. It should be like 10% of the saturation it was before. I don't know. It doesn't look bad, but I think this looks kind of stupid. Again, it probably only works if you have like certain colors too. I'm gonna roll with this for now. I think I'm gonna leave that how that is. It wouldn't work if you had like a dark color, I guess. Let's see if I change those colors up here. No, it's probably not going to pick up. I think I might have beach balled it again. Wonderful. You know, no joke, I made it like weeks without beach balling this thing here. I don't know if it's just the combination of everything running while streaming and doing all this or what. Gave it the boot. Let's see how it goes. We'll give it one more shot here. While it's doing that, let's see if there's anything else we could add to this rating control. Anybody have any other thoughts? What are things that we might need in addition? Rating star back. This is all like webby type of stuff. I don't think I want to do some of those things. Large and small. Well, the one I have is just going to draw based on whatever you gave it. It's just going to fit it in there. So that is what it is, you know. I don't know. I think this is all right. I think we got a little rating control here. For what it's worth, I think we'll probably just add this to the free controls. Little weekend project control here. There we go. We're back up. So yeah, let's run through it one more time. Let's take a look. See what we built. Done our happy little drawing here today. So we started the day with nothing, no rating control at all. And in, I don't know, roughly 3 hours, we're able to get this control out here. Got support for custom SVGs. You could do whole numbers. Partial numbers, selected and deselected icons. Disabling will change the saturation. Still not sure about that, but whatever. You know, I do like this too, like, it's like this this is what I also think is pretty cool. So, you know, and we're drawing these controls all by hand. And for anybody who's been doing like iOS or Android development, you know, you kind of get their controls. And sometimes they don't expose some values on those controls, like where they may or may not actually, you know, allow you to change how some things are colored or how some things are sized. So whenever I'm trying to build these, like if I ever have a magic number here, like the saturation amount, I always just try to pop it into a property and just allow it to be configurable. So let's just do that since we're here anyway. This will be we'll just default that to, it's like 0.1F. It's quite desaturated, but I think that looked pretty good. And we'll just make it so that whenever somebody changes this, so this is just kind of a helper that I have to just tell it, you know, hey, whenever you change that property, just repaint, you know, so if people are changing these on the fly, it'll tell it to repaint. And then we'll have it just use disabled saturation amount now. So I think that's, you know, I try to do that whenever I can, because this way, if you're using this control and you're like, it's too desaturated. I want it to look a little bit desaturated, but not that much. You know, you saw it was all of 30 seconds to pop that into a property and make it so that you can configure that. One of the things we didn't look at yet, I did put in some sizing for the margins and stuff, but I didn't really test that out. So let's at least write a control that tests that out. Do a rating of like 5 and it's like a single one here, and we'll say margin, we'll say 8, 2, 16, 3. How does that sound? Some magic numbers. Seems right. Seems like it popped them in there a little bit. Did the insets. I can't get that one. You gotta like really touch tremendously. Maybe I'll add some like buffer. Sometimes I add like little buffers to the left and the right here just to make it so you could like really get all the way down, because if you see that, keep on losing it there a little bit. So let's zoom in on this guy. Let's take a look at this. Cool. I think I'm happy with this. Can't really... I don't know if I can go back to 0 if you do it as a whole number, huh? Probably got to fix that up. Probably have to say, like, if you're less than half here, disable that, huh? Probably do something similar over here. Like if you're... Sometimes you got to just do some like little magic fudging, because, you know, if you think of somebody like swiping across this, I don't know why anybody's really going for that small of a value. Kind of just scoot them back to nothing. All right, that looks good. All right, well, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I think this will do it. Cool. Well, I've got a few minutes here. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, thoughts, comments. I know I've already got it on there to change the resolution, bump that down to 720. That seems like a good idea. Do something like that. What other controls would you guys want to see here? What kind of things would you all want to see? So we've got, like I said, I think I'm going to be working on porting some of these fluent controls. When I drag out of the control, the drawing stops. It should do that. Can I track it? So if I go all the way to the left or the right, 0. Like if I like drag. Yeah, like if I drag out here, like if I'm out here kind of idea. Yeah. It's a good question. Because I know right now, like if I leave the control, even if I leave fast, that kind of stinks. It's not great. I lose it. Oh, sure. Yeah, let me show. Yeah, so right now if I, sorry. Kind of doing two things at once, sorry. Yeah, so like right now if you leave the control, it stops drawing, like I touched in on this one. Beep, 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 and it will, when I'm not like on the control, it doesn't pick up the draw, right? And we're just I'm using the built-in touch, which, whoa, the sun just came out over here. Let me close this really quick. I can't, it's fine. We're using the built-in touch for this control, so we're just checking to see if it's in contact. And we're using, this is just the, right now we're just using the on-touch method that comes with the, that SK base view, or whatever that, what's that guy called? SK canvas view. So we're just using on-touch there, and I'm checking to see if it's in contact right now. So maybe we should do, maybe not just, well, yeah, I'd have to probably put a little instrumentation in here just to see when this guy's firing off when it gets in here. Right, because I've got a feeling that we're not firing that event. That would make sense, yeah. So if I could, you think if I take in contact out, I could detect when they've started touching in and go out? Does that seem right? Does that sound correct? It's like if somebody starts touching in the control and goes out. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll use that. Let's see if I can get that integrated then, and then that way, that'll be a pretty easy way, yeah, to keep on detecting. Like I'll just do some similar to like I'm doing here. Just I could do some rectangle detection, just find out where they're at. And if they've gone beyond it, right, just pin it to the max value. Or if they've gone less than it, just set it to the min, you know. I think that'll work. Yeah, because yeah, it's always, you always want to make it, like I was saying, like you always want to make it so that they can do what they want, what they expect it to do. Like it should work as your user expects it to work. So they come dragging out here. Yeah, like right now that is in contact. Like I'm not handling that perfect. Yeah, so if they start in here and they drag off to the side, you know, or keep on going out to the middle of nowhere, if I just don't use that in contact, perhaps I can get that to continue firing off those events and then just pin it to the max or a min. That should actually work out pretty nice then. And just listen to, yeah, because this is pretty cool too. So, you know, I use kind of the, I just say, you know, this is actually the first time I've used in contact. I normally don't use that. Typically what I'm doing is there is, I think it's like action type. And these action types give you the ability to do things like, you know, was it entered or exited? Did they cancel out of it, you know, and get bopped out? So these are a little more granular. But for what we were doing today, I thought is in contact might work out pretty well. So might have to switch to using something like this. And kind of get that rolled out there. Cool. You gotta work on that. The internet's out, power's out. That is a rough one. Man. Yeah, so let's see. We got a few more minutes here. What any other questions, comments, thoughts? What do people think? We can do a quick recap here as well. Kind of show off everything that we did. But just toss them in the chat. We'll do a quick recap, and then I'll probably wrap her up. So we started off the day with nothing, a blank canvas. And what we did is we worked through making this ratings control. So, you know, started off here, kind of work our way from start at the top here. Right, we've got our base control, which is really just a canvas that we're drawing into. So we just got a, you know, kind of a, if you think of there being an empty area behind this, actually I can check this out. Let's use some Xamarin Inspector. People still know that this exists, right? Xamarin Inspector is pretty cool. Show us our layout for our controls here. All right, so if you take a look at this, like each one of these is kind of a single horizontal strip, right? So, or a single strip. I'm drawing them horizontally. But it's a single, you know, it's basically a single canvas. That's also something that I think is pretty cool about doing some work in SkiaSharp. And if you're not afraid to get in there and draw it yourself, is, you know, sort of one of the biggest performance issues that we have out there with forms in general, I guess, is that it's, you know, when you start doing a lot of layout stuff, you start having a bunch of nested layouts. You know, you could put everything in a grid. I always kind of advocate for taking stuff and just sort of chunking it into a grid and figuring out grid position from there to kind of keep your layout as flat as possible. But you know, your Skia canvas is just like a big canvas. So even though we're able to do things like intercept touch events and do all this custom drawing on here, it's just sort of, you know, one big block. So it's kind of easy for it to allocate out there and get set up for us. But like I was saying, so, you know, where we started out here today is just sort of a blank canvas for one of these. And what we did is we popped in some properties. So we added in an embedded image name property. That's what we're going to use to draw our individual sort of rating icons out there. We added in the unselected one. So that's sort of, you know, as I've got some selection value on one of these here, you'll notice it'll change from, in this case, like the Xamagon to this Triforce here. Some value captures, we set our max value. So, you know, the first one, we got it as 5. These other ones, we got it pinned out here to 10. So we got those kind of set up there, and those look good. Right? And we set up some colors and things like that. But the big work that we're doing out here is in the drawing. And if you really break it down, like this drawing code is, it's not too crazy. Oh, the sun is out. Woo! I think that's my, like, you're done programming light, Mike. So let's take a look through this. Let's take a look at this drawing code, right? So our drawing code here, pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the surface that gets provided in here. And using this surface, I'm going to go and just grab my canvas variable. So again, if we think like Bob Ross, the canvas is what we're going to paint onto to go do our work. So I just grab this out here and hold on to it as the variable. I then go and get my colors that we set out there for our control. They are, you know, just to make it easier for a Forms developer's life, we do them as the Xamarin.Forms color, and then there's some helper methods as part of SkiaSharp to help us just convert those to SK colors. I don't have it here, but I will do it later on. You know, this is getting called every single time we do a paint pass right now, so it's not super efficient. So typically what I would do is I would move these into the property assignments up above, and then just hold on to some local variable with the color until it changes, which makes it a little bit nicer. We do some color adjustments here. Again, pretty easy to do this in the world of Skia. We're just going to take our regular color that we have out here. Actually, let me see here. Yeah, it's we had this disabled saturation amount here. We're going to take that Skia color that we built before, and we're going to convert it to HSL, the HSL being hue, saturation, and lightness, or luminosity. We'll sort of deconstruct it into these variables here, and then we'll just adjust the saturation amount and reassign it. And so we'll use that, so if it's disabled, we'll kind of remove the color from the control and desaturate it out there. I'm going to look at our margin control, our margin drawing here. I don't actually think this is totally necessary. This rectangle might not be right. I'm going to take a look at this, but we get our core rectangle that we're going to draw into. I don't think it's actually fully necessary that we do this, but we've got it anyway, so we'll use it. But the reason why we're getting this rectangle is because now we need to figure out what we're going to draw into our screen. So again, we've got our values, we've got our max value. So let's just say it's 10, for example. That if it's 10, what we're going to want to do is draw 10 unique ratings items onto the display. If somebody were to give it a value that's not like a whole or like an integer value, we're gonna call ceiling on this just to bump it up to the next whole number, and just get that as an int here. And then we're going to want to break this and figure out what each item can be, right? So if we know that there's 10 items and we know that we've got a full width of like 600, it's, you know, each item out there is going to be able to be 60 or whatever, right? We figure out our current value percentage, so find out where it's at along the drawing path. We'll use that later on here. We do clear out at the canvas. So the canvas, again, if we think of it in Bob Ross terms, every time we do this, we're going to throw on titanium white, get that cleared out. So if we have any drawing that was on there previously, we're going to clear that out. If you don't clear it out, it's just going to keep on drawing on top of itself, so you could end up with something cool if that's really what you want to do. But for our case, we'll just clear it out every time and start fresh, right? Because we really don't. We want to remove the state of whatever it was set to previously. Okay, we're going to create a paint object here. Again, you could probably, you know, hold on to this and dispose of it later. It's probably more efficient than creating a new one every single time, but for right now, it's kind of an easy way for us to get this set up. We turn anti-aliasing on to make sure that we can, if we got any jaggies or anything like that, it'll kind of smooth those out on the outside of what we're painting. And we're using the source in blend mode, because what that's going to do for us is that is going to allow us to like draw onto any pixels that have already been drawn onto the canvas and adjust colors that way. So if we look at how this works is, you know, if I just load the app up again and take a look at it, our the SVGs that we load in here could have coloring on them. They could even be multicolored for what it's worth. And so what we're going to say is that when I paint, or when I paint on my canvas, what I want to do is I want to see whatever pixels have already been painted onto my canvas. And I'm going to draw on top of them, or when I perform my paint operation, I'm going to draw on top of the pixels that are already there, that have already been painted. And so that's what this blend mode allows us to do. And so it's pretty neat because we'll use we'll do like one pass of painting on it, where we'll basically just draw our initial overlay color on there for the controls. And then later on, we'll look at that percentage of where we are selected, and we could do another paint just by changing the color and repainting on top of it. And that'll give us the ability to do kind of our drawing here where we've got the color changing. Okay. Other than that, we're going to loop through each one of our, we're going to loop through however many items we think we're going to draw out there. We're going to do little inspections. So we're going to look at the current value and see if our current selected area here is less than that value out there, right? So let's go and see where we're at in the spectrum of items. We'll check to see if our control is selected or not, so just to get the right SVG. And then most of the painting here kind of comes down to two areas, right? So again, the actual like real work that we're doing in this control, there's a lot of like crufty kind of stuff, or a lot of like just sort of boilerplate setup stuff. But the big amount of work that we're really doing out here is in these lines of code. So we're figuring out where each one of those rating items should be drawn. So based on my current index, what's my rectangle for that current item. We then are going to go and see where does our SVG fit inside of that rectangle. Again, you know, our SVG might be smaller than that rectangle or bigger than that rectangle. So we're going to use this aspect fit method to fit that rectangle into essentially the middle of the other rectangle. So give us the max amount of space, but kind of fit it in there. And that's going to give us this new rectangle here. We then need to figure out like how much we need to scale this thing down. We want to scale it down to the smallest width of that rectangle, or the smallest size or face of that rectangle, whatever. You know, it's either going to be the smallest width or the smallest height. So we'll do this math out here where we're going to check to see which one of these numbers is smaller. You know, is it the width or the height? And based on that, we're just going to scale our SVG's canvas using that information. To do that, then, we're going to build a couple of matrices. So we're going to do one matrix for scale. And this is going to take our SVG from wherever it starts and shrink it down or expand it potentially. Then our translation here is going to move it along the X and Y axis so that we can center it inside of our containing rectangle. We'll merge those two matrices here, and then we'll draw our SVG using, we're going to pass in that matrix as a reference here for our draw picture. And then after we do that, like I mentioned before, we're just going to go and we're going to set our overlay color here on our paint object, and then we're just going to paint over everything. So anything that already has been painted, so whatever got painted on here, we're just going to paint it again. And actually, you know, like now that I think about this, we could probably optimize this. Probably could take this out of here of this for loop. A little optimization will do. Take that out of this for loop. I think I can just pop this down here. That's probably better than doing it n amount of times, right? Draw our overlay color there with our paint. Even move it outside that if. I really don't care about that. And then the only other work that we really have in terms of drawing here is we want to show it highlighted if there is a selected value. So we're going to go and figure out what percentage of our control is selected out there. And then we're just going to repaint again. So we're going to use that selected overlay color and just redraw it on top. Right? So we're just going to call draw a rectangle. So it's really trying to draw a rectangle like here. So if you imagine some invisible or imaginary rectangle here, it's going to draw it. But because we're using that blend mode of source in, it's just going to draw on top of pixels that are already there. So it's going to draw that blue on top of what we've already drawn. All right, so pretty cool. The only other thing that we really have in here is just a little bit of logic for handling the touch location and just making sure that we've got it, that we can determine where our touch is in the control. That's pretty much it. So not too bad. You know, if you really look at the amount of work that you have to do to get something like this set up and going, it's not terrible. It requires a little bit of thinking through and a little bit of math that's hard to do on a Saturday morning, but not terrible. All right, so let me check the chat one more time, see if there's any other questions, thoughts. Otherwise, I think I'm going to wrap this one up for the day. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, the blend modes make you look professional pretty quickly. I would have, when I first started doing this, like I didn't know what blend modes were, you know? So I was doing all kinds of stuff to like clear it out and repaint it and hold on to stuff and draw it again somewhere else. And it was not awesome. So like this makes it pretty easy to do something like that without having to do a whole ton of code. Well, cool. Well, thanks everybody. This was my first time doing this on Twitch, so hopefully it wasn't too terrible. I know we had some blinking stuff earlier. See if I can get that figured out, or I'll just share out my desktop normally, I guess, going forward. Thanks for everybody who joined me. I'll want to try to do this on a more common cadence, like maybe on the weekends, maybe more often. It'll probably be late. If it's on the weekends, it'll probably be in the morning. If it's during a weekday, I'll probably end up doing it probably later at night. Yeah, I'd love to do this every Saturday. It just depends, you know, we got the kids' schedules and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll probably plan on doing this next Saturday at a minimum and try to take it from there. So cool. If anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts, you could find me on Twitter at Michael Stonis. I'll probably update my Twitch page here because it is super barren right now. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining me, and I will talk to you soon.